A woman who spends her entire life trying to be the nice girl often believes she is building a better future. She believes that if she is always agreeable, always available, always forgiving, and always silent, people will appreciate her, respect her, and love her. But life teaches a different lesson. The world does not always reward people who abandon themselves. It often rewards people who know their value. There is nothing wrong with kindness. Kindness is one of the greatest strengths a human being can possess, but kindness without wisdom becomes self-neglect. Compassion without boundaries becomes exhaustion. Generosity without balance becomes exploitation. Somewhere along the way, many women confuse being nice with being valuable. They begin measuring their worth by how much they sacrifice instead of by who they are. The moment you stop living to earn approval is the moment you begin discovering your true identity. Your value was never supposed to be determined by how many people you pleased. Your value begins with understanding that you were born with purpose, dignity, intelligence, and unique gifts that deserve to be expressed, not hidden behind constant people-pleasing. The nice girl often lives inside an invisible prison. It is not built with steel bars, but with fear. Fear of rejection, fear of criticism, fear of conflict, fear of disappointing others. Every decision becomes controlled by one question: what will people think? When your life is governed by the opinions of others, you slowly surrender ownership of your own future. You stop making choices based on your dreams and start making choices based on other people's expectations. That is one of the greatest losses a person can experience. Freedom begins the day you realize that your responsibility is not to manage everyone's emotions. Your responsibility is to manage your character, your decisions, your growth, and your purpose. You cannot build an extraordinary life while carrying the impossible responsibility of making everyone comfortable. Someone will misunderstand you. Someone will disagree with you. Someone will criticize you. None of those things have the power to define who you are unless you give them permission. Many women apologize for things that require no apology. They apologize for speaking confidently. They apologize for having standards. They apologize for protecting their time. They apologize for saying no. They apologize for wanting more from life. But confidence is not arrogance. Self-respect is not selfishness. Boundaries are not cruelty. There is a difference between being difficult and being decisive. The world needs women who can stand firmly in their convictions without feeling guilty for existing. Every time you silence your voice just to keep others comfortable, you teach yourself that your thoughts matter less than everyone else's. Eventually, you begin believing that lie. But your ideas deserve to be heard. Your vision deserves attention. Your dreams deserve investment. You do not have to shrink your personality to make insecure people feel bigger. You do not have to become invisible so others can feel important. Real confidence allows you to stand tall without pushing anyone else down. One of the greatest habits the nice girl develops is over-explaining every decision she makes. She feels the need to justify every boundary, every absence, every opinion, and every personal choice. She believes everyone deserves an explanation before she can choose herself. But maturity teaches a powerful lesson. Not every decision requires permission, and not every boundary requires a long speech. Sometimes a respectful no is complete by itself. Sometimes choosing your peace is explanation enough. Every unnecessary explanation often comes from seeking approval rather than exercising confidence. The stronger your self-worth becomes, the shorter your explanations become. You begin making decisions based on your values instead of your fear of disappointing people. The desire to be liked by everyone is one of the fastest ways to lose yourself. Think about it carefully. Every person you meet has different expectations, different personalities, different opinions, and different preferences. Trying to satisfy everyone is like trying to chase the horizon. You will never reach it. The more you attempt to become everything for everyone, the less you become yourself. Great lives are never built by imitation. They are built by authenticity. The woman who embraces who she truly is becomes unforgettable because authenticity carries a confidence that cannot be copied. You were never designed to fit into every room. Sometimes your uniqueness will make certain people uncomfortable. That is not your failure. That is simply evidence that not every environment is meant for your growth. Stop believing that your kindness obligates you to tolerate disrespect. Respect and kindness should exist together. Some women continue giving chance after chance to people who repeatedly ignore their feelings, misuse their generosity, and drain their emotional energy. They mistake endurance for strength, but true strength is knowing when enough is enough. Every healthy relationship requires mutual respect, honesty, and appreciation. If you are constantly giving while others are constantly taking, that is not balance. It is imbalance disguised as loyalty. Your time, energy, attention, and emotional peace are valuable resources. Protect them wisely, because where your energy goes, your life follows. Stop watering places where nothing healthy is growing. The nice girl often fears conflict so much that she chooses silence instead of honesty. Yet silence does not solve problems, it only delays them. Unspoken frustration eventually becomes resentment. Hidden disappointment eventually becomes emotional exhaustion. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is choosing truth even when your voice trembles. Difficult conversations may feel uncomfortable today, but they often prevent greater pain tomorrow. Your voice is one of your greatest assets. Use it with wisdom, respect, and confidence. Speak clearly about your expectations, your values, your goals, and your boundaries. The people who genuinely value you will appreciate your honesty. Those who only benefited from your silence may resist your growth. Let them. Growth often reveals who truly belongs in your journey. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she must decide whether she will continue living for acceptance or begin living with purpose. Acceptance depends on other people. Purpose depends on your commitment to becoming the best version of yourself. A woman driven by purpose makes different decisions. She invests in learning. She develops new skills. She protects her focus. She surrounds herself with people who challenge her to grow instead of encouraging her to stay small. She understands that success is not created by being endlessly available to everyone. It is created by intentional choices made consistently over time. Every hour you invest in becoming stronger, wiser, and more capable increases your ability to contribute meaningfully to the world. Your standards are not walls designed to keep good people away. They are filters designed to protect what matters most. Never lower your standards simply because you fear loneliness or rejection. The quality of your life is greatly influenced by the quality of the people you allow close to you. Choose relationships where encouragement replaces manipulation, honesty replaces games, and mutual respect replaces constant sacrifice. Healthy people celebrate your growth rather than feeling threatened by it. They encourage your dreams instead of minimizing them. They appreciate your kindness without demanding unlimited access to your time and energy. Stop waiting for someone else to give you permission to become the woman you already have the potential to be. Too many dreams remain unfinished because someone is waiting for external validation before taking action. Confidence does not appear before action. Confidence grows because of action. Every courageous step strengthens your belief in yourself. Every challenge you overcome proves you are more capable than you once imagined. Do not wait until you feel fearless. Begin while you still feel uncertain. Progress belongs to those who move despite fear, not to those who wait for perfect conditions. Every successful woman once stood where you stand now, uncertain, nervous, questioning herself, but she chose movement over hesitation. The world does not need another woman pretending to be smaller than she truly is. It needs women who lead with integrity, think independently, communicate confidently, and live intentionally. Your kindness should remain one of your greatest qualities, but it should never cost you your identity. Let your compassion exist alongside wisdom. Let your generosity exist alongside boundaries. Let your confidence exist alongside humility. Let your ambition exist alongside character. You are not here to spend your life earning everyone's approval. You are here to develop your potential, maximize your abilities, and leave every place better because you had the courage to become your authentic self. The day you stop living as the nice girl who constantly seeks permission is the day you begin living as the strong, confident, purposeful woman your future has been waiting for. One of the greatest mistakes a woman can make is allowing other people's opinions to become the foundation of her identity. The moment your happiness depends on someone else's approval, you hand over the authority to define your life. Think about how exhausting that becomes. Every decision must pass through the filter of what others might say. Every dream must be measured against someone else's expectations. Every step forward feels risky because you are more concerned about criticism than about purpose. This is not freedom, it is emotional captivity. A life controlled by approval is a life that never truly belongs to you. You cannot fulfill your greatest potential while constantly asking permission from people who were never assigned to direct your future. The strongest women understand that respect from others is valuable, but self-respect is essential. The moment you stop allowing public opinion to dictate private decisions is the moment you begin taking ownership of your destiny. Many women have been taught directly or indirectly that being accepted by everyone is the ultimate achievement. They spend years adjusting their personalities to fit every environment, changing their opinions to avoid disagreement, and hiding their true ambitions because they fear being misunderstood. But there is a price for constantly changing yourself to satisfy everyone around you. Every compromise that betrays your values slowly erodes your confidence. Every time you ignore your own instincts just to keep someone else comfortable, you lose another piece of your authentic self. Over time, you may wake up one day realizing that everyone around you seems pleased with the version of you that exists, yet you no longer recognize the person looking back at you in the mirror. Success loses its meaning when it is built upon pretending to be someone you were never created to become. Your uniqueness is not your weakness. It is one of your greatest assets. The qualities that make you different are often the very qualities that will allow you to make a meaningful impact. Approval is one of the most unstable foundations upon which to build a life because people's opinions change constantly. Someone who applauds you today may criticize you tomorrow. Someone who supports your dream now may question it later. If your confidence rises and falls with every compliment or every criticism, you will spend your life on an emotional roller coaster controlled by circumstances you cannot manage. A mature woman learns to separate her identity from public opinion. She understands that criticism does not automatically mean she is wrong, just as praise does not automatically mean she is right. Instead of allowing emotions to control her direction, she allows principles, wisdom, and purpose to guide her decisions. She understands that temporary opinions should never determine permanent choices. The people around you have the right to their opinions, but they do not have the authority to determine your potential. That authority belongs to the choices you make every single day. There will always be people who misunderstand your confidence. Some will call it pride because they were only comfortable with the version of you that constantly sacrificed herself. Some will say you have changed simply because you no longer allow yourself to be taken for granted. Others may become uncomfortable when you stop saying yes to everything they ask of you. But growth often changes relationships because growth changes expectations. When you begin valuing your own time, energy, and future, the people who benefited from your lack of boundaries may resist your transformation. Do not mistake their discomfort as evidence that you are moving in the wrong direction. Sometimes the greatest proof that you are growing is that the expectations people once placed upon you no longer fit the person you are becoming. Never allow guilt to convince you to return to a smaller version of yourself simply because others preferred you there. True confidence is not built by collecting compliments from the world. It is built by keeping the promises you make to yourself. Every time you honor your values instead of abandoning them for acceptance, your confidence grows stronger. Every time you make a difficult decision because it aligns with your purpose instead of chasing popularity, your character becomes deeper. Every time you choose authenticity over approval, you strengthen the foundation upon which your future is built. Stop asking whether everyone approves of your journey and start asking whether your daily choices are moving you closer to the woman you are capable of becoming. Your life was never designed to be a performance for an audience. It was designed to become a masterpiece shaped by courage, discipline, integrity, and purpose. The woman who no longer depends on applause discovers something far greater than popularity. She discovers the freedom to live with confidence, conviction, and unwavering self-respect, regardless of who chooses to approve or disagree. One of the most powerful words any woman can learn is the word no. It is a small word, yet it has the power to protect your future, preserve your peace, and strengthen your identity. Unfortunately, many women have been conditioned to believe that saying no makes them selfish, unkind, or difficult. As a result, they continue saying yes even when they are physically exhausted, emotionally drained, and mentally overwhelmed. They accept responsibilities they cannot carry, tolerate behavior they should never accept, and sacrifice opportunities that would help them grow simply because they fear disappointing someone else. But every unnecessary yes to others often becomes an unnecessary no to yourself. Every time you ignore your own priorities to satisfy endless demands, you slowly teach yourself that everyone else's needs matter more than your own. A woman who values herself understands that protecting her time and energy is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of wisdom. Your life is too valuable to spend it constantly responding to other people's expectations while neglecting your own purpose. Boundaries are not barriers built to push good people away. They are foundations that create healthy relationships. Imagine trying to build a beautiful home without strong walls or a solid structure. Eventually, everything inside becomes vulnerable. In the same way, a life without boundaries becomes vulnerable to constant interruption, unnecessary stress, and emotional exhaustion. Some people will always ask for more of your time, your attention, your patience, and your generosity because they have never been taught where the limit is. If you never define that limit, they will continue crossing it without realizing the cost to you. Healthy boundaries communicate something very important. I respect myself enough to protect what has been entrusted to me. They teach others how to treat you, how to value your time, and how to honor your personal space. People who genuinely care about you will learn to respect your boundaries because they understand that healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, not unlimited access. Many women mistake endless availability for love and constant sacrifice for loyalty. They believe that being there for everyone at every moment proves they are caring and dependable. But love should never require you to abandon yourself. Loyalty should never demand the destruction of your peace. You cannot continue pouring from a cup that has been empty for years. Eventually, exhaustion replaces joy, frustration replaces compassion, and resentment replaces generosity. The tragedy is that many women do not recognize this until they are emotionally burned out. They spend so much time rescuing everyone else that they forget to care for the person carrying all the weight. Strength is not measured by how much pressure you can survive. Real strength is measured by your ability to recognize your limits, honor them, and make wise decisions before exhaustion becomes your lifestyle. A woman who takes care of herself is not choosing herself over others. She is ensuring that when she gives from a place of strength instead of depletion. There will always be people who become uncomfortable when you begin setting boundaries. Not because your boundaries are unfair, but because they were benefiting from the absence of them. They may accuse you of changing. They may tell you that you are becoming distant, less accommodating, or harder to deal with. Do not allow those reactions to make you question your growth. Sometimes the people who resist your boundaries are simply revealing how much they depended on your inability to say no. Growth changes relationships because it changes expectations. The woman who once accepted everything without question begins asking whether a request aligns with her values, her priorities, and her purpose. She no longer feels guilty for protecting her peace. She understands that every hour she spends on unnecessary obligations is an hour she cannot invest in becoming the woman she was created to be. Protecting your future sometimes requires disappointing people who expected unlimited access to your present. Remember that your time is one of the greatest resources you possess, because once it is spent, it can never be recovered. Your energy is equally valuable because it determines the quality of everything you do. Your emotional peace influences your ability to think clearly, make wise decisions, and pursue meaningful goals. These are treasures that deserve careful stewardship, not careless distribution. Learn to guard them with confidence. Say yes with sincerity, but only when it aligns with your purpose and values. Say no with respect, but without guilt when something threatens your peace or distracts you from what truly matters. A confident woman understands that boundaries do not limit her life. They protect it. They create the space necessary for growth, excellence, healthy relationships, and lasting fulfillment. The woman who learns to guard her time, her energy, and her peace does not become less kind. She becomes wiser, stronger, more focused, and far more capable of making a meaningful impact wherever life leads her. One of the greatest gifts a woman possesses is her voice, yet many spend years hiding it because they fear rejection, criticism, or misunderstanding. They remain silent in rooms where they should be contributing valuable ideas. They watch opportunities pass by because they doubt whether their opinions matter. They hesitate to express their thoughts because they have been conditioned to believe that keeping everyone comfortable is more important than speaking the truth. But every time you silence your voice out of fear, you silence a part of your potential. The world does not benefit from the wisdom you never share, the ideas you never express, or the leadership you never demonstrate. Your voice is more than the sound you produce. It is the expression of your values, your experiences, your vision, and your purpose. When you refuse to use it, you deny both yourself and others the contribution you were capable of making. Confidence begins the moment you decide that your perspective has value, even if not everyone agrees with it. Too many women have developed the habit of apologizing for simply existing. They apologize before asking a question, apologize for offering an opinion, apologize for setting expectations, and apologize for taking up space in conversations. While humility is a beautiful quality, unnecessary apologies gradually weaken your confidence. Every unnecessary apology quietly communicates that you believe your presence is an inconvenience rather than an asset. There is a significant difference between apologizing because you have genuinely made a mistake and apologizing simply because you have a voice. A confident woman knows when accountability is necessary, but she also knows when confidence is appropriate. She understands that expressing an idea respectfully is not something to feel guilty about. Sharing your knowledge is not arrogance. Pursuing your goals is not selfishness. Standing firm in your beliefs is not stubbornness. Stop asking for forgiveness every time you choose to be visible. You have every right to contribute, to participate, and to be heard with dignity and respect. Confidence is often misunderstood because many people confuse it with pride. Pride seeks attention. Confidence seeks purpose. Pride tries to prove superiority. Confidence simply recognizes responsibility. A truly confident woman does not need to dominate every conversation or compete with everyone around her. She does not become louder to appear stronger. Instead, she develops a quiet certainty that comes from knowing who she is and what she stands for. She speaks with clarity because she has learned to think with clarity. She listens with maturity because confidence is secure enough to learn from others. She remains calm under pressure because her identity is no longer dependent on constant approval. Real confidence is not measured by how much attention you attract, but by how consistently you remain true to your values when no one is applauding. The strongest voice in the room is often not the loudest one, but the one that speaks with conviction, wisdom, and integrity. There will be moments when speaking up feels uncomfortable. You may find yourself in environments where your opinions are challenged or where your ideas are ignored at first. Do not mistake temporary resistance for permanent failure. Every meaningful change in history began with someone who refused to remain silent. Every innovation started as an idea that others questioned. Every successful leader experienced moments when their vision was misunderstood before it was respected. If you allow fear of criticism to silence you, you will also silence your potential for influence. Remember that not everyone has to agree with your perspective for it to have value. Mature people understand that different opinions create opportunities for growth, learning, and better decisions. Speak with respect, but never let fear rob you of the opportunity to contribute. The future belongs to those who have the courage to communicate their vision with confidence while remaining open to continual learning and growth. Your words have the power to shape your future long before your circumstances begin to change. The language you use reflects the beliefs you hold about yourself. If you constantly speak from fear, doubt, insecurity, and limitation, your actions will eventually follow those beliefs. But when you begin speaking with confidence, responsibility, vision, and determination, you start creating a mindset capable of achieving greater things. Therefore, choose your words carefully, not only when speaking to others, but also when speaking to yourself. Replace hesitation with conviction. Replace excuses with responsibility. Replace self-doubt with disciplined action. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to reflect the woman you are becoming rather than the fears you are leaving behind. Never underestimate the influence of a woman who has found her voice. She inspires without forcing, leads without controlling, and communicates with a confidence that encourages others to discover the strength within themselves. When your voice is guided by wisdom, character, and purpose, it becomes one of the most powerful instruments you will ever possess. There is a profound difference between being genuinely kind and becoming a people pleaser. Kindness flows from strength because it is a choice. People pleasing often flows from fear because it is driven by the desire to avoid rejection or gain acceptance. A woman who constantly seeks to please everyone slowly begins to lose sight of herself. She starts making decisions based on what will keep others happy instead of what aligns with her values. She sacrifices her dreams to meet expectations that were never meant to define her life. She carries burdens that do not belong to her because she believes saying yes makes her more valuable. But your value has never been measured by how many people you satisfy. Your value is measured by the integrity with which you live, the character you develop, and the purpose you pursue. The moment you realize that your worth is not earned through endless sacrifice is the moment you begin living with greater freedom. You can still be compassionate without becoming captive to everyone's demands. One of the greatest dangers of people-pleasing is that it teaches others to expect from you what you should never have been expected to give. If you constantly ignore your own needs, people may begin assuming that your time, your energy, and your emotional strength are unlimited resources. What began as generosity slowly turns into obligation. What started as kindness becomes something others feel entitled to receive. This is why self-respect is so important. The standards you establish for your own life quietly teach others how to treat you. If you consistently accept disrespect, people may assume disrespect is acceptable. If you constantly allow your kindness to be taken advantage of without speaking up, some will mistake your silence for permission. A woman who respects herself understands that respect must first exist within before it can consistently exist around her. She does not wait for others to define her value because she has already decided that her dignity is not negotiable. There are relationships that encourage your growth, and there are relationships that quietly drain your confidence. Learning to recognize the difference is one of the greatest signs of emotional maturity. Not everyone who enters your life is meant to remain there forever. Some people celebrate your progress, encourage your dreams, and inspire you to become stronger. Others become comfortable only when you remain small, constantly available, and willing to put your own needs aside for theirs. The difficult truth is that you cannot continue growing while holding tightly to relationships that demand you abandon your authentic self. Choosing self-respect sometimes requires creating distance from environments where your generosity is repeatedly abused or your efforts are constantly taken for granted. This does not mean responding with anger or bitterness. It means choosing wisdom over emotional attachment. Protecting your peace is not an act of rejection toward others. It is an act of responsibility toward your own future. Many women fear walking away from unhealthy situations because they believe staying demonstrates loyalty. But loyalty should never require you to surrender your identity. Commitment should never demand the destruction of your confidence. Remaining in environments where your kindness is consistently exploited does not prove your strength. It often reveals your fear of letting go. There is courage in knowing when to continue, but there is also courage in recognizing when it is time to move forward. Every season of life requires different decisions, and growth sometimes requires releasing what no longer contributes to your development. The woman who understands her worth no longer remains where she is constantly diminished. She does not wait for endless apologies or promises that are never fulfilled. Instead, she chooses progress over comfort, growth over familiarity, and self-respect over temporary approval. Every healthy decision you make today creates room for healthier opportunities tomorrow. Never allow anyone to convince you that choosing yourself means you no longer care about others. The strongest women are often the ones who have learned to balance compassion with wisdom. They continue to love, encourage, support, and serve, but they no longer do so at the expense of their own well-being. They understand that they cannot make a lasting difference in the lives of others if they are emotionally exhausted, mentally overwhelmed, and constantly neglecting themselves. Choosing self-respect means honoring your values even when others misunderstand them. It means refusing to settle for relationships that diminish your confidence or habits that prevent your growth. It means believing that your dreams, your peace, your time, and your future deserve protection. A woman who replaces people-pleasing with self-respect does not become less loving. She becomes more intentional. Her kindness becomes stronger because it is no longer driven by fear. Her generosity becomes healthier because it is guided by wisdom. And her life becomes more impactful because she has finally learned that the greatest gift she can offer the world is not the version of herself that constantly seeks approval, but the authentic woman who lives with confidence, integrity, and unwavering self-worth. The moment a woman stops waiting for permission to become the person she is capable of becoming, her entire life begins to change. Too many dreams remain locked away, not because they are impossible, but because their owners keep waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect circumstances, or the approval of the people around them. They convince themselves that one day they will finally have enough confidence to begin. But confidence is not something that arrives before action. It is something that grows because of action. Every courageous decision strengthens your belief in yourself. Every challenge you overcome expands your capacity. Every obstacle you face teaches you lessons that comfort never could. If you spend your life waiting until you feel completely ready, you may spend your life waiting forever. The woman who changes her future is the one who understands that growth begins the moment she decides to move, even while uncertainty still exists. Progress has always belonged to those who act with courage rather than those who wait for certainty. Living with purpose means refusing to drift through life without direction. A ship without a destination will be carried wherever the wind chooses, but a ship with a clear destination can navigate through storms without losing its course. The same principle applies to your life. If you do not decide what kind of woman you want to become, the opinions of society, the expectations of others, and the distractions of daily life will gladly make that decision for you. A purpose-driven woman wakes up with intention. She understands that every day is an investment, and every decision either moves her closer to her vision or farther away from it. She no longer measures success by temporary applause or popularity. Instead, she measures success by growth, discipline, character, and the consistent pursuit of meaningful goals. Purpose gives ordinary days extraordinary significance because every small action becomes part of a much larger vision for the future. A strong woman understands that personal growth is not an event. It is a lifelong commitment. She never reaches a point where she believes she knows everything or has nothing left to learn. Instead, she develops the habit of constantly improving herself. She reads to expand her thinking. She learns new skills to increase her ability. She embraces challenges because they stretch her beyond her comfort zone. She accepts correction when it helps her become wiser. She understands that the greatest investment she will ever make is the investment she makes in herself. Material possessions can be lost, opportunities can come and go, but the knowledge, discipline, wisdom, and character you develop remain with you throughout your life. Every lesson you learn today becomes a tool you can use tomorrow. Every skill you develop opens doors that once seemed impossible to enter. A woman committed to growth never stops preparing herself for opportunities that have not yet arrived.